Hi everyone, my name is Dylan, and today I want to be going over attacking and defending in Siege, because I know sometimes it can be a little difficult, right? Maybe you're stuck outside on attacking all around, you're not sure how to enter the building, maybe you're stuck outside a window, just sitting there not really trying to do anything, you don't know how to enter, and so today we're going to be going over that, as well as defending, right? Let's go over attacking first. One of the first general rules of thumbs when it comes to attacking is you want to try and enter the building within a minute to like a minute and a half. You're going to give the enemies enough time to reposition, do things, right? And you don't really want that. You want to try and be confident and aggressive in this game. So rule number one, if we are going to enter the building, we never want to enter a lobby area. And the reason why, and you can think, right, lots of different maps have lobbies, chalet with bottom fireplace, bank, right, that giant lobby, you know, just a lobby area in general. It's not hard to identify where it is. The reason why we don't ever want to enter a lobby, right, is because we have to worry about a whole bunch of different angles. We have to worry about classroom and Z hall over here, right? We have to worry about split, you know, bottom garage, bottom main, you know, there's like 6 different angles over here. It's kind of scary, kind of overwhelming. The time to take the drone out each and every angle is going to take forever, right? So we don't want to waste that kind of time. And if we were to enter the building from here, we're exposing ourselves to all these different angles, right? So unless you drone out each individual room or each individual angle, probably not the best idea to enter from there. Where you should be entering is probably a room that doesn't have a lot of angles, right? So for example, let's go to garage. You know, once we enter garage and we clear it out with the drone, guess what? We only have to worry about one doorway, that's it, right? And then sometimes garage hatch, but, you know, more or less, especially for the lower ranks, doesn't really get popped that much. So I would say the better you position yourself when you enter the building, the more likelihood that you're not going to die to someone randomly camping, right? Another general rule of thumb too, we know we talked about in our previous video with how to win your gunfights, right? So we want to stay away from hallways because they don't have a lot of cover. That also goes for how you choose your attacking route, right? If site was bottom floor and I'm pushing from laundry, it's kind of spooky because in laundry, it's kind of like a long hallway, right? I don't really have a lot of cover out here. It's just a big open area. You know, it doesn't really give us a lot of options, right? And remember, if we're only going to push hallways or big open areas if we have the tools that help us. So if we have flashbangs, smokes, and stuff like that. But if we don't, chances are this probably isn't the best area to push, right? So we wouldn't want to push this route. Another thing too is when you do decide to enter the building, always drone before you enter the building. Always. It takes a couple of seconds. 9 times out of 10 too, most players, what they do is they prep their drone where they're going to enter the building, right? So site top floor, we don't like pushing upstairs, right? I would probably want to enter the map on the same level of site, right? So with master over here, it's on the same level as site, right? This is, if site was up here, we don't have to worry about pushing upstairs. We can just enter master. And then let's take a look at master and let's look at how many angles we need to worry about. So we take a look at master, and guess what? One doorway, that's it, right? Because this wall's usually going to be reinforced, and you know, this wall doesn't really get touched that often. So you really only have to worry about this one doorway, right? And so that's barely why so many people love pushing master bedroom, because it's on the same level, it's so close to site, and there's not a lot of angles that you really have to worry about. You can kind of take over this very easily. So try and identify which rooms don't have a lot of angles that you kind of have to worry about. One of my favorite pushes for site upstairs is attic right here, because once we take over attic, we only have to worry about 2 different angles. That's not too bad at all. Now once we hop in and look here, there's only 2 different angles. It's rotate and doorway. The problem is big open area, right? We have no cover in attic, so we'd probably want to play a character like Ying. We wouldn't want to play Ash, right? Because how does Ash help me in this situation? She doesn't, right? But Ying would be great. We can toss some Ying grenades in there. Bing, bang, boom. We hop in. Now we have attic control. And if we ever want to push up, we can toss a smoke grenade. Smoke grenade goes off. And then now look at that. Now we can push up and we start worrying about, you know, different angles. Start clearing a corner, right? If we're ever going to take a gunfight, maybe catch someone off in trophy, whatever. But now we were so close to site. Look how much area we took. And all it took was just entering the right window, choosing the right route, and picking the right operator for that route. If you like look at the map, for example, right, you kind of are going to get a visual representation of where the objectives are going to be. Now because of how this is set up, you know, quick matches, it usually tells you exactly where bomb is, right? You can kind of see through the map and kind of break it down where you're going to enter. Once you play the game a lot more, you'll understand what sites people like to play first, right? So if we play Oregon, we're on round 1. I can say 99% of the time they choose upstairs site first, right? Usually like to think of it like they kind of work their way down. They go top floor first and then bottom floor, and then they choose a random middle floor, right? That's usually how it works for the most part. So now that we know that site is going to be upstairs, we just want to choose the right route. If I wanted to plant in big window, for example, we don't want to waste our time spawning in construction, because by the time it takes us to trek all the way across the map over there, you're wasting too much time. I even say too, in droning and prep phase, treat it like you're speed running too sometimes. So let's try and spawn in here. Let's say I wanted to plant on big window, right? I wouldn't want to play Buck, because Buck doesn't really help me with the plant on big window, but I could play someone like Capitao, right? Even bring the Claymores to help me out for anyone hops out on me. We don't want to bring hard breaches or impact grenades, right? Bring the right tools for the right job. And so let's take our 45 seconds. We'll drone out the objective, right? And we'll kind of see what's going on. We don't always have to drone out if we're not going to enter the map, right? So I'm not going to keep my drone here in small tower if I'm not entering small tower. I'm trying to plant on big window, right? So 9 times out of 10, you want to plant your drone where you're going to enter the map. Now, it's a little bit trickier to kind of plant your drone in sight, right? But if you can get it there, I would say just kind of be quick as possible. I'm trying to like hug some tight corner, and then boom, now we have some sort of information. We don't have to physically look, but we can hear on our drone too, right? You hear some shuffling around close, means someone's probably close by, right? You don't really hear anything going on. Chances mean that they kind of gave this up for you, right? Right phase is over. Let's get there. You get a quick plant down, or if we're trying to get something done, swap to your secondary and then just start doing what you got to do. Because what happens is you're going to move a lot faster with your secondary out than with your primary out, right? Especially with LMGs. They're really, really slow. Now, because we brought the right tools, right? We can bring the Claymore to help us protect us if anyone jumps out here. And then we can also go around, we can plant the Claymore here if we wanted to, or there's another window that we can plant the Claymore here as well. Now, before we enter the building, remember, we always want to check our drone, right? Because if I were to just hop on and not check my drone, right, I'm kind of exposing myself here, that's not really that good. So try your best to just take the time, just hop on your drone and listen. Okay, nothing's really going on right now. Good. Now you're going to start firing off the corners, right? Maybe you get some smokes off, smoke yourself off, and then boom. Now we can plant the bomb, right? Boom, we brought the right tools for the right job. Now we can play off of the window if we wanted to. We can upside down repel on that, right? Wait for them to come to us. So you can also play far back up here, right? We can repel up. Play on the roof if we wanted to as well, right? And this is much difficult for the person to kind of swing us, right? So use that to your advantage. Bring the right tools for the right job. Figure out which objective am I trying to plan on, right? Because this isn't TDM. We're not trying to kill the whole team. If we kill the whole team, great. There's nothing wrong with that, but that shouldn't be our main goal. Way too often do I see maybe like a 2v1 situation where a guy has defuser and we have objective free just fine, right? But then we go and rush the last guy because it's a 2v1. We have confidence we're going to get the kill, and then we die and we lose defuser, and now it's that much more difficult for us to plant the bomb. You also want to be able to adapt. I think adapting is one of the best things you can do in this game, because no 2 games are ever going to be the same, right? That goes for attacking and defending. If you can't adapt to the enemy's playstyle, if you see they're super aggressive, they're running out all the time, they're hopping out through windows, ripping down doorways, running out on you, bring the Nomad, bring some more Claymores for yourself, right? Bring the tools to help you. That's really about it in terms of attacking. Now, if you're not sure what role to play, that becomes a little bit more flexible. At the end of the day, though, you just want to think about, how am I trying to get the plan off? How do I help the team get the plan off? I recommend, if you're ever solo queuing in this game and you don't know who to play on attack or defense, utility is the meta in Siege. So anytime you can physically throw down or place down something in this game, that is the best character that you can play for yourself. So on attack, if you think about utility operators, Nomad is a really good one, right? Because I would probably my favorite character to play if you're solo queuing, because that way, again, very flexible in terms of the gadgets that she has. She has flashbangs, which is really one of the best gadgets you can use. Let's go over attacking. I know we kind of went over a lot here. Number 1, attacking, you always want to drone before you enter the building, and then you always want to drone before you enter site, right? Because if you drone before you enter the building, you don't want to die to that random person sitting in a corner waiting for you, right? It's very easy to counter. Take the 3 seconds to just drone it real quick. When we do drone, we don't want to drone too far ahead. Don't be over reliant on the drone. The 2-room rule, right? Or the 3-second rule. 2 rooms, 3 seconds. Either one works. Basically, you only want to drone as far as you can do something about it. So I don't want to see anyone where we're out here on the balcony and then we're going to drone master bedroom and then we're going to drone trophy and then we're going to drone site. Why are we droning site? We can't do anything about site. Don't worry about site right now. We're not going to enter it yet. Remember, we want to drone site before we enter, and we're not entering the site, we're entering the building. We haven't entered the building yet and we're droning site, right? So take the time, just drone what you can and then get in there, because the longer you take to get in the building, the less pressure you're applying. And if you don't apply pressure to the enemies, guess what? They're going to sit in sight, wait for you. They don't have a care in the world, right? So get aggressive, get in the building, start doing stuff. Once you start breaking it down by baby steps, you can start understanding this game on a fundamental level, and then your life becomes 10 times easier because you already know how this game works, right? Don't treat this game as just a shooter where we're just trying to run into the map, get kills, right? We're trying to swing or be swung and we're swinging everything, right? Take the time to involve some strategy in there too. That's one of the coolest things about this game. And so that's the general rules of attacking. Now, if that doesn't make sense or if I missed anything, please leave it below in the comments and we can talk about that too, because I love hearing what you guys have to say as well. So on defense, selfish operators like Warden, Solus sometimes, Scopos, Cavi, there's orcs. Stay away from the operators where, even Doc, I'm going to throw that out there. I know it's controversial, but I see a lot of people playing Doc just for the gun and ACOG and be able to stim themselves. These are selfish operators because once you die, team can't use any of your stims anymore, right? It's gone. Poof. But on defense, we have a lot more utility on defense, right? We have the castles, Frost, Goyo and stuff. Anytime you can physically place it down. I think one of the best solo queue defenders you can play is Legion 100%, because let's take a look at his toolkit. I mean, we have an SMG that is very easy to control. We have a pocket shotgun that we can make rotates, be more flexible in terms of your play style, and his goo mines are really solid because you can place it underneath windows, by doorways, and it's like having a sixth teammate to watch your back. Utility won't lie to you, right? A proxy alarm won't lie to you. If it goes off, someone's going to be there, so use that to your advantage. So defending, don't sit in sight as much as possible. It's very easy to be reactive in this game, right? And if we're just reactive all the time, we're not being proactive, we're not getting things done, we're waiting for the enemies to come to us, and we start losing that confidence, right? We start, oh man, I can't do this. I'm sitting in a corner, I'm waiting for him, right? So like, someone's outside big window. Oftentimes you'll see them, I'm scared, I'm kind of sitting here. Never trap yourselves, right? Rule number 1 in positioning in general, we don't want to trap ourselves. So defending, making sure that we don't trap ourselves in corners, because what if they had the tools to get you out of those corners, right? Flash, Grim, Grenade, this would suck, right? Now, when you're sitting on site, the only times you should be sitting on site is for third floor objectives, I would say. So let's take a look at like Consulate and Cafe. I want you to visualize it in your head, right? Think about the skylight, think about all the windows, the hatches, right? It's a lot of different entry points for attackers. And because they have so many options, you're gonna want to more or less stay on or near site. Every other objective, you should be playing off site. Remember, this is bomb, this isn't TDM, right? So we're trying to prevent the bomb. So as an attacker, we talked about understanding our routes, right? Trying to visualize it in our head, okay, what's the best way to plant on that objective or that objective, right? So let's reverse that. As a defender, we don't want to lock down site. Anyone can lock down site, right? I could reinforce every single wall in this room and it would be locked down, right? But we know that doesn't work. Why? Because number 1, we're trapping ourselves. But number 2, the biggest one, we're not applying any pressure. So instead of locking down site, we have to think about locking down the ways to get to site. That's what you want to think about. Where anyone could just sit in corners waiting for enemies to push through that door, but let's not get them that close to site. Because if they're that close to site, they can plant right here if they wanted to in a smoke grenade. They can plant all the way out here. Like, that's kind of scary. So, keeping them at bay. And how do we keep them at bay? Let's start manipulating the environment in our advantage. So I see a lot of people, what they do is they double reinforce this wall, right? And they cut it off and then boom. They kind of just forget about it, right? The problem when you double reinforce a wall is you're basically just giving it up, right? If I double reinforce this, there's no way for me to fight back. We can't apply pressure to this room. They're going to just walk up and take this room because this wall's reinforced. They don't have to worry about that. And then they're this close to sight. So what do? And I'm sure some of you see it. We make holes in the wall and we make head holes. That way, we have some way to fight back, right? So as an attacker, That's one more angle I have to worry about. Oh gosh, now I have to worry about this and I have to worry about that. Oh man, you know, this is scary. What do I look like? As a defender, it gives you more options in how to play, right? And so this isn't in sight. Attic is in sight. So at least this would be a good place to anchor, right? Because that way we're still near sight and we're still locking down the ways to get to sight. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about how we set up the map in general. So the bare minimum, what I should see from you guys is at least one room out of objective. At least one room. Come on, be very easy. But for the most part, if you wanted to get into the more advanced and technical stuff, we're only just fighting for this room, right? Now let's take a look at what happens if we were to take our setup even further, right? Let's think about a way we can lock down master bedroom and stairs. So this setup here, I only have a minute. Hopefully I can do it in time. So no matter what, even if we're not doing the specific setup, always reinforce this wall, just because they can see really deep in the attic if you don't reinforce it. So let's make sure we reinforce that. Now with this setup, if I were to playing armory, for example, now look at what I can control. I can control here. I can control and apply pressure to master bedroom, right? Apply pressure to main. They can't enter top main window because I'm over here as well, and they can't enter trophy because they have to get through me to get the trophy, right? So think about it. Now we're locking down the ways to get to site, right? Rather than just locking down site. Again, anyone can lock down site. You know, you don't want to really have that mentality. Lock down the ways to get to site. Now, if you were playing rook or dock, what utility do I have? Barbed wire and proxy alarms? That doesn't really take the defense as far as it needs to be. You'll always have a much easier time if you truly want to rank up. You'll always have a much easier time playing characters that have the actual utility to help you succeed, because if you don't bring the right setups, you're struggling. So I kind of like barely showed you, but we're gonna go over, there we go, we're gonna go over like a strategy that you can use for kind of extending. One of your best friends for any extension in this game, if you're not like just sitting on or near site, is Castle and Azami, because they can kind of manipulate the map, right? They can be like, I don't have to worry about this angle anymore because boom, you know, you put up a bulletproof barricade, or you pull up your Azamis, and now you can create new angles for yourself, right? Which is pretty cool. So let's try and do like a castle setup here. So castle would be another good one. We could also do Malusi too, but I really like the castle. So my first castle would probably go right here, right? This way, what it does is it forces them to waste utility in order to try and get the wall open, right? If they're playing thermite, guess what? They have to now deal with this castle, right? My second castle is going to go in master bedroom here. They have to deal with this castle, right? They have to start punching it down, right? Or again, waste utility like a grenade or something. And it kind of exposes themselves when they're all the way out here, right? They can't walk in a trophy. They're kind of trapped out here in the open. My third castle is going to go on this window right here. This way, if you do want to play the hallway or play into trophy, let's say you want to play over here and you want to play off the head holes like that, right? We don't have to worry about our back getting shot or anything. So it gives us more flexibility in what we can and can't do, which is really nice. And then my last castle, go right here in armory window. And remember, even if we're doing this strat or not, we always want to reinforce this wall, right? So let's get that reinforced. Now, look how much control, look how much ease I have, right? I have control over garage, again, armory, control over bottom main. We can put a proxy there if they try to push up, right? We can even put a proxy on here to let us know if they push in. So we have so much tools to our advantage, and if anyone does push in, they have no cover to fight back. So this is a very, very strong hold, because now, again, we're locking down the ways to get to site, right? Rather than locking down just site itself. So that's the kind of mentality that you want to have. And if you're not sure how to start or where to go, experiment, man. Standard and quick matches, like those are going to be your best friends for experimenting. You can also experiment in custom games too, but I like experimenting in standards. That way you can sort of get live feedback from actual players, right? Whether they counter or whether they know what to do or what not to do. And you can kind of just like see like, oh, that worked out really well. I'm going to bring that to my rank game next time, right? But at the end of the day, if you are ever going to try this, just think about what are routes that I can lock down that lead to site rather than site itself. That is my biggest advice I can give you as a defender.